This classic whistle-stop presentation is brought to you by Out West. Love the West? So do we. Click the icon or go to scvoutwest.com.
Our next stop is Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and we're going to the Franklin Institute. All men accord Philadelphia the proud title, the birthplace of achievement of our political independence. The term can be used with equal force to show that the city was also the cradle of American science and industry. The Whistle Stop crew visited the Franklin Institute Science Museum. You can't miss it because there's a Boeing 707 parked next to it, along with an Air Force missile. The producer of this show deems this an opportune time to proudly announce that Whistle Stop already has a sister show entitled Puddle Jumper in production that deals with all phases of aviation, from remote-controlled model planes right on up the line to stories and features on civil, military, and commercial aircraft. We will keep you informed of its premiere. The Franklin Institute's locomotive room has many interesting stationary and animated exhibits, from models of early steam engines, the Pennsylvania Railroad's L5 Electric, and the pride of the line, a GG1, to a modern subway car. The Rocket was built in England by the Brathwaite Company for the Philadelphia and Reading Railroad. In the early days of American railroading, many locomotives were imported from England until American locomotive manufacturers such as Rogers and Cook of Paterson, New Jersey, were established. The Rocket now stands on a portion of the original 45-pound rail fastened to stone blocks. It weighs almost 8.5 tons and was in continuous service until 1879 after running almost 300,000 miles. 60,000, a great steam locomotive, is now powered by an electric motor. You can get into the cab and the giant engine creeps approximately 10 feet forward and backward. This engine has been giving rides to young and old at the museum since 1933. It was designed and built in 1926 by the Baldwin Locomotive Works of Philadelphia as an experimental locomotive to give greater economy with steam at 350 pounds to the square inch. The engine is a 410-2 type, tested and used for freight service for a number of years and 100,000 miles from the East Coast to the West Coast on such railroads as the Baltimore and Ohio, Erie, Southern Pacific, Chicago, Burlington and Quincy, Santa Fe, the Great Northern, and of course the Pennsylvania. 60,000's total weight is over 350 tons, and it's 101 feet in length. The task of moving this great engine and tender into the Institute was one of the most spectacular episodes of its career. It was run under its own power from 24th and Vine Streets, a little less than half a mile from its final destination. The 350 tons of the locomotive constituted the heaviest load ever moved over the streets of Philadelphia. Engineers planned long and carefully to accomplish it without accident or permanent harm to the paving. The ability of the sewers and other underground constructions of Philadelphia to withstand the great weight had to be calculated precisely. Tracks, 200 feet of them at a time, were laid ahead of the locomotive. These consisted of specially constructed ties, rails, and rollers. A special winch was designed and constructed so that a commercial truck could actually move this giant of the rails. The maximum speed was about 4 feet per minute, a snail's pace. Every day, a crowd turned out to watch the amazing spectacle. No parade ever caused more curiosity, nor perhaps lasted so long. Then a strike was called for truck drivers, and the great 60,000 seemed stranded. But the winch was so cleverly designed and the balance of the 60,000 so perfect that an ordinary horse was able to do everything the truck had done, and just about at the same rate of speed. Finally, 60,000 slipped through the open section of the wall which had purposely been left uncompleted. A great show had ended, and in the years to come, the tale would be told and retold many times of how the great 4,400 horsepower locomotive traveled Philadelphia streets pulled by a single horse. Since the engine has been at the museum, it has continued to serve science and has been considered an intense value to engineers.
Shop, look, and listen right here at WhistleStopUSATV.com.